welcome to Silver Siren Tarot and Astrology. Today's video is the second in the series for learning tarot. In my previous video, I did mention some tips, but I wanted to go ahead and get further into the tips for getting to know the cards as you start your journey with the tarot. This channel is brand new, but I am not brand new to Instagram or Facebook, so I will leave those social media platforms here so you can find me on there if you'd like to catch up with all things Silver Siren Tarot and Astrology. So after video number 1, you have found your deck, and now you are getting started with reviewing the cards. I apologize if you can hear that. That's my cat. Silverina, kitty, kitty, kitty. Come here. I'm going to give you some tips that really helped me familiarize myself with the cards when I first brought them home in that first month or two where it's very much foreign and the cards just don't look like much. The very first thing that I would recommend is just to get the cards out, shuffle them, and then pull out random cards and just look at the images. The artwork and the imagery is very powerful. That's what the entire tarot is based around, apart from the feelings that you'll get once you've started familiarizing yourself more. Really observe what is striking to you in that artwork as you shuffle through the cards. If while you're doing this any card sticks out to you, I would maybe set it aside and contemplate on that card a little bit further. There's a reason that it's striking to you. Another thing is that if there are any cards that fall out during the shuffling process, you also want to give special attention to them. It sounds a little silly, but trust me, once you've been doing this for a while, you'll notice that the cards that jump out want your attention. My next piece of advice is to carry the cards with you. I mentioned this in my last video that I would take my deck to work and I would pull a card to see what kind of energy was going on that day and what kind of energy I was bringing to the table. So I wanted to repeat that too because I think that's really important if you take the tarot cards with you to whatever you're doing throughout the day, and they can really help you tune into sort of the energies around you. My next tip would be to carry the cards with you. So if you're going to work or whatever you're doing on your day, make sure that you have the cards with you and you can pull one out and look at the card, notice anything about it that stands out to you, any feelings that it gives you, and then you go back at the end of the day, pull the card out and reflect upon what happened that day, and I promise you'll notice correlations between the card and the deck. Sometimes that comes through other people, sometimes it comes from you, and that is part of the fun of learning tarot, is that you can get clues from the card, but it's never obviously like a play-by-play of your day. You'll just notice that sometimes that the energy comes out in unexpected ways. My favorite way to get to know the tarot, and one that I still do, is to draw a card of the day. I still do this every day, like I just said. It's my absolute favorite way to sort of see what sort of energy is going on for the day. And a lot of times I will share the card of the day on my Instagram because what I've noticed is that a lot of people resonate with the card as well. So even if you pull the card for yourself, it might resonate with other people around you. So that's a good idea too. Again, you want to notice the art and the symbols and the feelings that the card is invoking in you. I would also journal about the cards. I mentioned this in my last video as well. Pull a card, or if you do a card of the day like I just mentioned, then you can journal about the card, write down anything that stands out to you. The artwork, feelings, anything like that, and you'll go over time seeing how some themes carry through and then sometimes how your perception of the card will shift. Which this is a good time to mention that I used to be really afraid of the Tower card, and now it's a card that doesn't scare me as much because I was pulling the Tower and the Death card all the time in like 2015 and 2016, and after a while when you're starting to get those major energy cards, you start to realize that you've been through that journey and that lesson, and so those cards don't carry so much power over you anymore because you've familiarized yourself with them, you've lived through them, so to speak. Cards that might frighten you or seem kind of scary or intimidating over time, once you've lived through that lesson, then those cards don't have much of a sway over you going forward. And that is also how you can learn to counsel other people when they get that card in a reading, not to run for the hills screaming. Find someone who can practice with you so that you aren't always reading for yourself and that you're able to read for somebody else too, and sort of have that detached perspective that's going to help another person as well. I think the tarot really likes it, or any tool of divination really likes it, when you're using your abilities to help other people and not just yourself. Again, tarot is a wonderful tool for self-exploration and all of that, but it is really great to use that ability and practice with other people as well. And you can definitely let them know that you're learning, that you're not sure, and people will tell you if it's totally a miss or if it's totally on point. And I promise you, you will be shocked how many times, even as a beginner, you're right. I started reading for people on a tarot forum completely anonymous. We all had like usernames, and I'm actually really good friends with one of them still. Her name is Jana. Hi, Jana. We're still really good friends, and we friended each other on Facebook. She is someone I've known since 2014, so you never know what tarot can bring into your life. So here are some tips that definitely weren't mentioned in the last video, and I apologize that it took me this long to get to this point, but I really wanted to re-stress those points. So I would focus on sections of the deck at a time. And the section that I would start with is the major arcana. You want to look at those archetypes first. Those are the heavy hitting cards. Those are the cards that carry a huge punch. If it's the magician, or if it's the high priestess, if it's the empress, if it's the moon, if it's the lovers, the sun, those all have very, very bold messages. And I actually started reading tarot for other people using only the major arcana cards. So that is a way to sort of divide and conquer the deck. So really familiarize yourself with the heavy hitters first, and you can totally read tarot for clients even, or for people if you're practicing, completely just using the major arcana cards, and it will give you a fantastic reading. I believe that I read for people from the major arcana for about 3 months before I started adding in the suits and the court cards as well. So do what works for you. A lot of this really is just relying on your own intuition, and you'll know when the time is right for you to advance. So then the second section of the deck that you could focus on is the suit cards. So you could do it like, you could focus on the cups, and then the wands, and then the swords, and then the pentacles, or you can do the aces and the twos and the threes and so forth, and then the court cards. But either way, my main takeaway for that is that I want you to focus mostly on divisions of the deck first, so that it's not completely daunting to have an entire deck staring you in the face. That's a lot of cards to try to learn. So when you're dividing it into smaller sections, it's not so intimidating, and you'll be more likely to stick with it. Also, don't be afraid to buy guidebooks. There are wonderful books on the market for learning tarot, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. The only word of caution that I would say is to just be really mindful of memorization. You don't want to memorize anything. Every deck is different, and every reading is definitely different. So you might pull the Ace of Pentacles, 2 times in the same day, one for yourself and one for someone else, but that's not going to mean the same thing. So that's why memorization is not great, because you'll get the basic concept of the card, but you won't get the nuances and the complexities of the situation if you're just relying on memorization. So definitely go more with your feelings. After all, this is a psychic development or an intuitive developing skill. So that is really more what you want to focus on, is the artwork, the feelings that you're getting, even sensations that you're getting. But again, part of that is learning to trust your sensations and feelings, because that is your intuition. That's that inner knowing. And my final tip is probably the biggest one, and that is to take your deck, say a prayer over it, and ask your guides, your spirit guides, and higher beings of love and light, or ultimate white light, or whatever you want to call them, and ask them to lead the way. Ask them to help you. State your intention with the deck, why you want to learn, and make sure that you are grounding yourself when you do this. And the reason you want to ground is because you want to connect with your spirit guides that are specifically working for your highest good and for your higher development, and you want to make sure that you're not totally draining your energy. I actually took about an 18-month break from tarot and astrology altogether, because reading for clients was completely and utterly just so draining, and I didn't have much energy left over for anything else, because reading for other people and absorbing other people's energy is a lot and it sucks the life out of you. So that's why grounding is super important. And when I saw a psychic about a year ago, she told me that that was my mistake, is that I wasn't grounding myself nearly enough. Honestly, I just want you to trust yourself, trust the journey. The next video is going to be on the major arcana. So like I said, divide and conquer. So that's just exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to bring the major arcana cards to you. I'm not totally sure that I'll be able to fit all of them into one video because I like to keep my videos somewhat short. I post every Thursday and Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will be posting bonus videos occasionally, so make sure that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my videos. I'm so thankful that you found my video today, and I really hope that these tips helped you. So that's all I have for you today, but I will talk to you guys in my next video. Have a wonderful week and a fantastic weekend. Stay tuned for the new moon in Aquarius, which is occurring on February 4th, and I will see you guys in my next video. Take care.